Proportional Response. Book 1, Chapter 22, Part 14. A few words of import. He hated it when Henry got like this. His brother continued.
The Confederated Declaration of War was quite clear. None of the leadership of the Exultans will be left in power, and very few, if any, will be allowed to remain free. We meant that, and will stop at nothing less. We don't intend to make them a client state, but will do so if that is what it takes. So, really, making sure that the Penigra don't have a self-healing spy network spread through the Exultan Republic is as good for us long-term as protecting the Major is short-term. And make no mistake, Major Mendesh is very, very important to war efforts.
Hannibal sat quietly, and Euro put a hand over his. Both of his hands darkened a bit in a blush, but he ignored it. I keep hoping that the humans will back down. Just beat the Zoltans enough that the lizards won't try it again. But I know they won't. By all the heavens, they can't. And you know it. Hannibal. Gelat and her ilk will just regroup and try again if left in place. Ambassador Ingthal spoke.
About that, I had really hoped that you would settle for a more restrained victory, Ambassador Archer. To force such a dramatic shift in the balance of power within the League is unprecedented, and utterly removing their entire government from power is a rather extreme response to them destroying a single colony ship. Don't you think?
Enibal felt his own countenance darken. When did I get that protective of humanity? Or is it just Henry? He saw Henry's face harden, while Kaz and his wives kept their expressions studiously neutral, but he could read their body language well enough to catch the dark amusement coming from Kaz and Golna, as well as the slight sadness from Yoro. The Bither seemed to understand that he'd hit a hot button of some sort, and cocked his head in a nearly human gesture. I wonder if that is something he learned to make it easier to deal with humans, Henry answered.
My dear Ambassador, humans don't do proportional response.
The next evening, Kazler sat in his living room and considered a stimulant for what seemed like the millionth time in a very long day. He considered putting off the call to his sister until morning, but knew he couldn't, not after all that had happened in the day's session. He needed the sleep, though. They'd stayed up well into the night with Ambassador Ingthal and the others, discussing the particulars of the immediate plan with him and how he could help. The surprise that he knew humanity intended to put him behind the Prime Minister's podium was hardly the first shock of the night from the insectoid, though most of the rest were far less disconcerting. The screen flared to life to display his sister's face, and she immediately frowned.
I'd say you look like shit, but you look worse than that. Where are your wives and Enibal? I sent them all to bed. Enibal was nearly dead on his feet. It was all Yoro could do to help him walk back here with some semblance of decorum. And my wives aren't in much better condition. We were up nearly all night with the Bither, and then in a very long session today.
She nodded.
Okay, give me the one-word version. Victory. Good. Now go to bed.
He gave her a lopsided smile and shook his head.
You're going to be hearing from the Pinigran King tomorrow. He is going to be very insistent about getting you on a private channel, and is probably going to demand everything from removing me from the Council world to flaying me alive. You need to understand why.
She frowned at him.
I'll put him off. Did it once already. Tell him I haven't had time to debrief you yet, which will even have the advantage of being the truth.
He shook his head again.
That will make him more insistent. You have heard how he tries to bully other monarchs. If he knows we haven't talked, then he will try to push you to commit to something.
She shot him a look.
Yes. I've played the game of politics a time or two before, dear brother. Even with that insufferable overstuffed feather duster. Fine. Report. We got everything we wanted, and more. That brief I gave you on Ambassador Ingthal, I underestimated him. He made it look like half of what we wanted was his idea, and made it look like Henry was responsible for the rest. The bug actually had the council to ready vote on a proposal which would have pinned a medal on that human captain for egalitarian aid above and beyond the call of duty, and let the human have the Zoltan merchant ship. And he made it look like it was Henry's doing.
Kaz smirked slightly as he watched his sister sit back with amusement in her eyes.
Gave you the chance to stand up to the big bad human then, and probably had that Zoltan ambassador quivering in his boots.
Kaz returned her amused look.
I stood there, and pounded on my display and declared that humanity had gone too far, and forced Henry to rescind the proposal. I'm honestly not sure if it would have passed or not, but it would have spelled nothing but trouble regardless. Anyway, after that we had little trouble getting an actual resolution to absolve the human captain of wrongdoing, allow him to keep all of the cargo he'd seized from the Zoltan as spoils of war, put out a warrant for the arrest of the Zoltan captain to be tried in a league court, not by the Zoltan, and compensate the human captain for the cargo he didn't seize, so that he could make sure the refugees made it safely to port. That took a few hours, nearly record time for these people. There was also a committee appointed to come up with guidance for human privateers who encounter situations like that again. I made sure Enabol is on it, and everyone else on it either really likes the man or owes him favors, and none of them have any real stake in the outcome. I expect for rules to come out of that committee in not more than 6 weeks.
The Empress raised a single eyebrow at him.
Oh, I think you may underestimate our future son-in-law, dear brother, and don't give me guff about not understanding how difficult those paper pushers are. I have been reading the reports coming out of there a lot longer than you have.
She waved a hand dismissively.
Not that it matters. The important part seems to be done. So why is His High and Mighty Featheriness going to try to haul me out of bed tomorrow? The Beether's proposal to allow his kind to sell nutrient paste pass with flying colors. Furthermore, a few addendums got tacked onto it. Despite my best efforts, I'll admit, to allow them to sell the altered paste that has a little more flavor to it, and some sort of protein that helps folks who need more of that. Now, before you start blustering at me, I am quite sure Ambassador Inkthal had nothing to do with it. He has no personal interests in the sale of nutrient paste, and doesn't plan to. He muttered, with some glee, a few times about how many decades it will take for him to cash in all the favors he'll be owed, but that's it. He also told me, directly and without equivocation, that he was as surprised by the development as I was, and you know how Beether are. It seems there has been a black market for Beether nutrient paste for some time. They have actually improved the stuff while they've had it. They still eat the stuff, without the extra flavor of course, since they can taste something in there that the rest of us can't. It seems the flavored stuff is mostly for black market export.
The Empress sat back and blinked at him.
The things that Intel misses sometimes. Humph. So I suppose that old Beak for Brains is going to be calling me to discipline you for not stopping that entire thing in its tracks. Well, that and Sorter letting the Beether ambassador threaten to provide evidence about what he no doubt considers deep states, and not calling the man out on it in any way, nor inviting him to recount the threats.
Kaz felt a yawn take him, despite his best efforts.
That was from yesterday's session, which has already been uploaded to you. I suggest you watch it before talking to the Featherduster. You should be able to take a great deal of bluster out of his sails by playing back key moments.
He waved a hand at her.
I'll let you figure that part out. You have played this game a time or two after all.
She gave him a warning look, which he responded to with his most impudent smile as he signed off.